over under properly rated for the college football top 25, man. So I'll start with you. We'll go from the top and work our way down. Georgia obviously came out of the gates at number 1, over under properly rated.
I think they're right where they need to be.
I think they're properly rated as well, man. 2-time national champions. You see Carson Beck, you see Trevor Etienne, obviously Kirby Smart. It's kind of a no-brainer as to why they have Georgia here at number 1. And number 2, Ohio State.
I say a slight overrate. Just
Slightly.
slightly. Just
Yeah.
slightly.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that quarterback situation, but everything else,
Yeah.
chef's kiss.
Yeah. I would say they're properly rated, man. We've seen what Ohio State's been capable of. Obviously, they have Judkins coming in. We know that they have Will Howard coming into the scene as well. Caleb Downs coming in from Alabama. Ryan Day has been that guy for the Buckeyes. And, this is a team that's played well for quite a while. We know what this program is capable of. So I think they are properly rated here at number 2. At number 3, Oregon.
I think they're right where they need to be as well. You can make a case for 2, though.
Yeah, you could definitely make a case for 2 with Oregon. They do, give you the things on paper with offense that I feel like Ohio State does as well. But when you look at Ohio State's been at this pedigree for a while, and not that Oregon hasn't, but we know that Ohio State is tried and true. I'm going to say they're slightly overrated. I would actually flop them with Texas, who is going to come in at number 4, over under or
Understandable.
properly rated for Texas.
The only reason I gave him that little nudge there is that quarterback room is loaded. And
Yeah,
Dante Moore and Dylan Gabriel. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Texas's quarterback room too, though, man. I mean, I know it's
Oh,
not a
yeah.
debate about the 2 teams, but Quinn and Arch as well.
Ooh-wee.
You could. That's why I think Texas should be at number 3. But
They're,
how do you feel? How do you feel about Texas at number 4?
they're, like I said, I think they're right where they need to be as well. I mean, all 4 of those teams deserve to be in the top 4. There's no question
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. 100%. That's the undisputed top 4 teams without a doubt. I'm going to say they're slightly underrated, of course, due to the fact that I said Oregon was a little slightly overrated. I would, of course, flop them with Oregon. A new era in Tuscaloosa with Alabama at number 5, over, under, or properly rated.
I think that's overrated. Just a smidge.
Ooh. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Because they had some departures in that transfer portal, man. There's several.
Yeah.
That could
Caleb Downs
be,
being one of them.
and it's his first year. So I'm not
Mhm.
saying Alabama's going to be mediocre by any means. It's Alabama, and Kalen DeBoer's got the resume to back it up. But at the same time, it's his first year, first year with him at the reign. So we'll see how
Right.
that goes.
Yeah, it is going to be very interesting. A lot of people are, I feel like it's kind of 50-50 on Kalen DeBoer, but I've been saying, he's got big shoes to fill. What he did at
Oh,
Washington with Michael Penix was absolutely great, but it literally does feel like a golden handoff, albeit filling Nick Saban's shoes. Still a great setup for as I've dubbed him now, KDB, to be able to walk into. I think he'll be successful here, though, man. I really do. I think Alabama's properly
oh
rated
yeah.
here at number 5. I think they'll be a national champion within the next 3 to 5 years. And it's like I said earlier, too, man, a lot of people are going to think I'm crazy for this. But if Alabama is hoisting the 2025 national championship, I'm not shocked because they have
No.
all the pieces. They still have Jalen Milroe. Their entire offensive line is more than likely still going to go to the NFL draft whenever it's time for them to go, and they're going to be first or second rounders. We know
Oh
this
yeah.
about Alabama. It is different with Caitlin DeBoer in there, but I feel really good about this ball club, man. So properly rated for Alabama at number 5. Number 6, Ole Miss. Kind of an interesting one. I thought they were interesting coming in at number 6.
I think number 6 is a good spot for them. They're not quite, what we see out of Texas and Ohio State for that matter, but they played some really close games last season. Looked really good. That Tulane game was a little shaky last year, but other than that, that was really the only time, that I saw that they couldn't be a contender, especially in a 12-team format. So
Yeah.
I like them at 6.
Yeah.
And not to mention
Yeah.
Kiffin,
Of course, and Lane Kiffin, he's been chopping wood there, man. He's been chipping away, and when you see what Ole Miss brings to the table, I think they're properly rated at number 6.
he's in that portal, man.
Yeah, Walker Nolan, Nate Kalepo, 15-game
Mm-hmm.
Washington starter.
They go be better.
Princely, I can't say that last name, out of Florida. Chris Paul Jr., the linebacker out of Arkansas. Trey Amos, a cornerback out of Alabama. When you get active in this portal, and we know that's a lot of what the committee is looking at. And that's why, piggybacking off of what I just said about Kalen DeBoer, That's why I feel so strongly about a guy who's able to recruit well, who's able to be in the portal well. And
Mhm.
when players flock to that team and it's proven 4-star, 5-star talent, you're gonna get the recognition from the committee. Jackson Dart as well. So I think that at Ole Miss is properly rated here at number 6. Notre Dame at number 7. This was a team that I kind of was back and forth on a little bit.
Uh, they're overrated every year, in my opinion. but
Oh,
uh, but in any case, number 7, that's slightly a little high for me. Just
yeah,
just for me, you know.
yeah,
But I would say they're still in the top 10, maybe in the top 12 for sure, but
yeah.
not number 7.
Yeah, I would say they're definitely a little overrated as well. I would put them in, somewhere around 10, but them being here coming out of the gate, it's like I said, it was something that I had to really ponder over it because they show a lot of potential. Like Riley
Yeah.
Leonard, I know he sat out last year, but you look at his year 2022 at Duke when he had 37 total touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken, 11 rushing for just under 700 yards and about 26 passing touchdowns as well. Counted for about
Mhm.
3,500 all-purpose yards. That's pretty remarkable in a college football season, especially at a college like Duke as well. But again, he sat out last year. But you look at what Notre Dame's got. They've got Howard Cross, Benjamin Morrison, Xavier Watts, who returns as well. A lot of veteran talent coming back or coming in. And you know, Marcus Freeman, he's just hoping that it's this time. It is this
Yeah.
time for Notre Dame to convert because we know
Mhm.
about the
Absolutely.
legendary prowess of this franchise. Number 8, we've got Penn State. Over under properly
Mm,
rated.
overrated. Just slightly because they struggled to win that big one. You know, the
Yeah.
Ohio State, the Michigan, you gotta get those. Gotta get those.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
I could easily advocate Michigan being in the top 10. So that's where I'm at on that one.
Yeah. Penn State's going to be overrated for me too, man. I think with their new offensive coordinator coming in, they're going to have some things to figure out. Whenever you change personnel like that, obviously it's going to be something for you to have a little bit of growing pains with. But when you look at Drew Aller or Alar, however you say their quarterback's name, he had a pretty promising first season, 25 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. He was actually 26th in the nation and 4th in the Big Ten in total QBR. But again, with that new offensive coordinator coming in, you're looking to be able to expand that quarterback's game because when you look at Alar last year, he was 92nd in yards per attempt at 6.76 and 109th in air yards per attempt. So you're hoping with Andy Kotelnicki coming in that he is going to really expand this passing game because Penn State feels solid, in the other aspects of their ball club. And if they can take this step forward in the passing game, I think their team can
They're
really see
nearly
some
there.
rewards.
Th-
Yeah,
They're
they
nearly
really
there.
are. They really are nearly there, and I feel like in a way, if you're so tapped into the Oregons and the Georgias and the Ohio States of the world, you're going to forget about a team like Penn State, and then you're going to
Oh,
get some
absolutely.
overhype for a team like Missouri or Utah, which we'll get into in just a little
Yeah.
bit. Michigan at number 9.
It's a little low for me. I think they're underrated.
Ooh, okay. As the
Yeah.
defending champs, you think they deserve to be higher?
Absolutely. And with all this investigation stuff going on, man, they got a huge chip on their shoulder. I think they got something to
Yeah.
prove again. Jerome Moore is a great head coach. We saw him win several key games last season because of
Mhm.
Harbaugh being absent. So I like their odds. Just hope the NCAA doesn't give them the death penalty.
Yeah, I don't know about Sharon Moore, man. I'm not going to knock the guy and say that he's not good, but his sample size isn't big enough. And, him stepping in to take over a national championship in lieu of Jim Harbaugh leaving is a lot bigger of a lift than
Yeah.
Kalen DeBoer stepping in and filling Nick Saban's shoes.
Oh
Because
yeah,
we know what
that's a
Kalen DeBoer
storied
is capable
program.
of. Sharon Moore, he worked under Harbaugh, obviously,
Hmm.
but you're stepping in as national champs.
Hmm.
Alex Orji still needs to get a lot of his snaps in.
Oh,
Thankfully, you have
absolutely.
Donovan Edwards. You still have some of the best, players in the country at certain positions at tight end, corner,
Right.
potentially wide receiver as well. And there's a lot of hype around the quarterback and Alex Orji as well. I am actually looking forward to what he's going to be capable of
Oh yeah.
in this season.
Orgy in the end
Losing
zone, man.
losing 13 RIP Robert Griffin the third's career at
Career.
ESPN. 13 total draft picks went for Michigan. That was
Oh,
the most. in college football. The running back and the
Yep.
quarterback were included, and you have a new head coach. So
Mm.
again, I think the prowess is still there for Michigan, but there are some questions to be answered. We've got your boys at number 10, the Florida State Seminoles, the most pissed off team in college football this year, and I can't blame them.
I say underrated by maybe 1 or 2 slots. That's it. Just simply because I know the team that we are. I
Yeah,
know what we're capable of
right,
in intense moments and intense games. But not
right.
only that, we got a great cast coming back this year, and everything I've
Mhm.
seen from fall practice looks really solid. Loving all the info I've seen over the past few weeks. So I'm
Right.
feeling confident we could be a solid 9 or a 8 spot.
Yeah. Yeah, hell yeah. I actually
Maybe
believe in
even
you guys
7. You can make a case.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I believe in you guys a lot this year, dude. I really do. And when we get to the last segment of the show, I think you'll see how much I really do believe in you guys. At number 10 for Florida State, I'm going to say they're underrated. I definitely think they're a better team than this. Mike Norvell has done an excellent job. DJU coming in, I think he does have more to prove, but he should be able to throw the ball and be as successful and
Oh, yeah.
and thrive in this offense like Jordan Travis did. And
Mike's
again,
a
this is the
QB
most pissed
whisperer.
off team. Exactly. And this is the most pissed off team in college football right now. We saw and we've seen how teams react when things don't go their way.
Yep,
And when they're in a situation to get further and something kind of out of their control takes that away from them. As a
yep,
Saints fan with the no call, I can reason with that. And for you
absolutely.
guys, it has to feel worse to get the job done and still win the season. So, Florida
Oh,
State,
yeah.
see, I feel the emotion behind that laugh, brother. I feel it.
Mhm.
And I can't wait for you guys to play your damn hearts out this year. Missouri at number 11, over under properly rated.
I say slightly underrated because
Ooh.
we saw Mizzou play some close games, like, with the Georgia game last year. They hung in there with them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Mizzou does always give that run for the money.
they had an impressive record on an impressive schedule last year too. They're not the
Hmm.
team to mess around with. They're gonna
Right.
come to play. So I think you could easily advocate Mizzou being at number 10.
I think they're the most overrated team on this list, bro. The very weak schedule compared to other people. Now, they did do well in the transfer portal. The head coach obviously did a hell of a job in the transfer portal, but they did lose their defensive coordinator to LSU. And we know
Mhm.
Missouri has been that team to really have that defense, bro.
Yeah,
They don't play Georgia. They don't play Texas. They don't play Ole Miss. They don't play LSU. They don't play Tennessee. So yeah,
that's
this is
correct.
going to be a easy give it to me 10-win team, but that
Mhm.
doesn't mean it puts the blinders on me to say that they're deserving of this number 11 spot. So I think they're the most overrated team on this list. Missouri at number 11. I'll eat crow later if the season in the season if I'm supposed to. The Utah Utes, a team that I kind of feel similar about at number 12.
I just say fair because we've seen them hang in there against SEC opponents as well as, fellow now Big 12 opponents.
Yeah.
They coming from obviously the Pac-12. I'm pretty sure they've won it in previous seasons
Yep.
recently.
Yep, they
So
won 2. Is it
they're
Pac-12
always
or
a
Big
great.
12?
They
Am I
were
tripping
in
on
the
that?
Pac-12 originally, and now they're in the Big 12 this
They
year.
just went to the Big 12,
Yes,
correct?
correct.
Okay, okay.
Um,
So then they
and
won
I
2 Pac-12 titles with Cam Rising.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
impressive.
think I think in their first year in the Big 12, man, you could see them make a run for that chip too, the Big 12 championship, because I
Mm,
mean, they got some people coming back, and like I said, they've beat some SEC teams. So,
yeah,
and we all know how the SEC is. It's the
yeah,
hardest conference. It really is.
yeah.
So,
Hell yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no doubt. We know what the
yeah.
SEC is. I think this team is overrated. They're not as talented at quarterback now that they are in the Big 12. And we do see that their quarterback is coming off of an injury as well. Speaking of Cam Rising, he was out the entire last season with a knee injury. And I'll give them credit. Like we just mentioned, they did win 2 Pac 12 titles, which is impressive when you have teams like USC, when you have teams like Oregon that are in that conference. But we haven't seen their quarterback since 2022. And I just don't personally feel like on paper and what this season is going to be like, considering that you do have the Georgia and the Texas and the Georgia and the Alabama and the really big, the weekend in October that we've been talking about that we are so hyped for. We haven't seen weekends like that, man. And I
Absolutely.
don't think a team like Utah, a team like Mizzou is going to be able to hang when the going really gets tough, when you're really taking your
Right.
lumps in the thick of your schedule in the season. Number 13, LSU.
Fair. That is a fair ranking because we all know LSU. If you come to play in Death Valley at the Bayou, you're in for it.
Yeah.
It's hard, and not to mention they got a great coach in Brian Kelly. They got some
Yep.
talent coming back. You know, new
Yep.
quarterback. So
Hmm.
they got some stuff to prove.
Garrett Nussmeyer.
Yeah, I think I think LSU is reasonably placed.
Yeah. I say they're underrated, bro. I really do because Brian Kelly's coming into his third year. It is going to look differently with their defense, of course, with the offense. You know, both sides of the ball. You lose Jaden Daniels to the draft. You put up 45 and a half points per game. That leads the nation last year. But you also have a defense that cannot stop anybody. And when we're just talking about Mizzou losing their defensive coordinator to LSU, that's what Brian Kelly went out and did. He snagged Blake Baker because they have to be able to stop people, man. Yes, this
Oh
is an
yeah,
offensive league. This is an offensive sport. But if you are not playing defense to some magnitude and you're getting outscored and not able to win championships when you put up 45 and a half points per game, no, I'm not acting like that's a shocker. But for Christ's sake, they had the Heisman. Jaden
yeah.
Daniels shot to the top of draft boards because people saw what he was capable of.
Oh
So I
yeah.
think the LSU Tigers are underrated here. They've got a nice schedule to play as well. They play USC, the opener, obviously in Vegas. They play
Hmm.
Ole Miss at home on October 12th. So they've got some good games cut out for them for sure. Number 14, Clemson.
That's fair rating. Considering last season didn't exactly go the way they had planned it. They lose a close one in their Death Valley to FSU, and then they lose one to Notre Dame, and I know that one hurt. But Cade Klubnik's a solid quarterback. Dabo Swinney is obviously a great head coach. He's got two titles of his own.
Yeah.
Um, I like them at 14. They're always a team that's going to come play. They're a force to be reckoned with. They're definitely a threat. You could easily see them in a 12 team later. Um, they might not win the ACC, but they're still a solid team.
Yeah. Yeah. Clemson's interesting because I love Dabo. I'm not the biggest fan of Cade Klubnik, but he's solid. I think he
Yeah.
could play better in big spots, and we've seen that Clemson over the last couple of years has kind of tried to find themselves after Trevor Lawrence and after GJU gets out of town,
Yep.
and Cade Klubnik comes into his second year, and looking to really do something with this team. It's the first time in 12 years that the Clemson Tigers failed to reach double-digit wins was in 2023, and that was under Dabo Swinney and under Cade Klubnik. Now, the defense is expected
Yep.
to bounce back this year. You do have guys like Barrett Carter, TJ Parker, Peter Woods. The last two gentlemen I mentioned are sophomores for this
Absolutely.
team. But I don't know because it's crazy because I had underrated, but I would say they're properly rated, man. To be honest with you, I
At
think
first, I
Clemson is properly rated here. Maybe a tad bit overrated,
yeah, I hear
because I
you.
I don't I guess I just don't expect Clemson to make that much noise in the SC or in the ACC, but also possibly prove me wrong, man.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Number 15, Tennessee.
Fair. Tennessee, they're sneaky. They'll catch that close one to Bama. They'll catch that Hail Mary on Georgia. I mean, no offense.
Yeah,
Like, you know what I
yeah.
mean?
No,
They're
hey, that's
they're gonna
okay, bro. You're
play
right.
until the last down. If they're not getting beat by a country mile, they're gonna play you till the last down. And if you're playing at Neyland, that's a very loud environment,
Yep.
very toxic environment as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know how obnoxious those Rocky Toppers are. I mean,
Uh huh.
they can get to your head quick. So,
Yep.
and then they got a great coach in Josh Heupel, and then, they have what I forget his name. Is it Pierce on the defensive side?
James
Guy's a
Pierce Jr.
monster. Yeah, James Pierce Jr.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
guy is a monster. So
Hmm.
I think they could be a threat.
Their defensive line led the SEC in tackles
Yeah.
for loss in 2023.
They're not going to win the SEC by any means, not in my
Uh-uh.
opinion, but they're
Yeah.
going to give people some hell.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Tennessee is pretty overrated here. Again, when it's I don't know, when you fall outside of the top 12 which there are teams that are in the 20s that I think will be a top 12 team by the end of the season. Crazy enough. When you fall outside of the top 12, it's hard to say that a lot of these teams are properly rated because I just really think they lack the talent when it comes to the 12 to 13 teams I truly believe that are going to run college football this year. You know,
Mhm.
outside of James Pierce, I don't really have a lot of guys that impress me. I mean, they've won 27 games over the last 3 years, so
Right.
that's okay in college football, but that's, they're doing the best they can in the SEC. I'm not, crapping on Tennessee at all, but it's a team that I'm I'm not really hype about them going into the year. I don't see much happening from them. Oklahoma at number 16.
I think that's a fair ranking. Brent Venables, I think this is going to be his third season now. He's starting to
Yep,
get more of his players into the
16 and
to the
10 in the
mix.
2 years under him.
His recruiting, his portal activity, he's ironing out the Lincoln Riley and then inserting his own uh his own reins. So I
Right.
think I think we're gonna see a better Oklahoma team. I don't think they, win the SEC or anything like that. But similar to Tennessee, I think they give people a run for their money and give them
Yeah.
something they're not expecting because they are known for those high flying offenses. It's Oklahoma. So
Right.
they're going to put 30, 40 points on the board every game.
Uh-huh. I still don't feel the same ever since Lincoln Riley's got away. I'm going to say that they're properly rated as well, man. Number 17, Oklahoma State.
Fair ranking. They went to the Big 12 championship last year, albeit they got routed pretty bad by Texas.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State's always in contention. They're always in a bowl game. Mike Gundy's always hanging in there, hanging on with
20,
the
20 years as the
pretty
head coach, brother.
20 years as their head coach, and he's never had a losing season. So that's fair.
Yep.
17 is perfectly fair.
Yep. Ollie Gordon really helps them out. 1,700 rushing yards last year, 21
Yep.
touchdowns. He was seventh in the Heisman Trophy.
Guy's a beast.
Yeah, he's going to be a monster. He's, probably going to be that Bijan, that Saquon type of guy that you
Oh
take early
yeah.
in a draft because I mean, when you
He's
put up over
blossoming.
20 rushing touchdown, yeah, he's definitely blossoming for sure. I think Oklahoma State is properly rated. Kansas State at number 18.
I'm gonna say the same thing as Oklahoma fair ranking. They're always a thorn in the side in the Big 12.
Yeah.
They stuck up on Oklahoma a few years back.
Hmm.
You know, they're 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 that trap card team. They're kind of like a South Carolina in that
The
respect.
trap card team. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, they're gonna come to play. They're not
Yeah.
just gonna roll over. So, I think it's fair.
Right. Yeah, I think they're fairly ranked as well, man. I really do. Losing Will Howard is going to be the biggest thing that they have to go up against, but they pick up Dylan Edwards from Colorado, who,
Yeah,
Dylan Edwards
huge.
was fairly productive. They get the wide receiver Dante Cephas as well. They started 3-2 last year, but Kansas State finished 9-4 a year after the Big 12 title, losing those 4 games by a combined 21 points. So they're going to be competitive. And I
Yeah.
definitely think that they're properly rated sitting here. Number 19. I don't know if a team went harder than Miami in the offseason with their recruiting class and just trying to prove that they are not the people to mess with this year because they're coming for a top 12 spot. Over under properly rated on Miami.
Properly rated.
The U.
Ugh. None of that. But anyway, I do think, however, that team down south is properly rated uh, because they played a very close game with us last season. I didn't expect that. I expected us to, not stomp them out like we did in 2022, where we beat them. I think it was like 38-3 or something like that.
Yep.
But I didn't expect that. But I expected a little bit, more than we got last year, and they came to play, man. They didn't quit. They played
Yep.
until the final drive. And
Hmm.
the addition of Cam Ward, that's only going to cause more issues. Because if you
Yeah.
remember, it was up to DJU and Cam Ward. Who's going to Florida State? Who's going to Miami? And which one is it going to be? And we think Cam Ward's like, oh, I'm just going to settle for the draft. Oh wait, no, I'm going to go to Miami. And when he
Right.
made that decision, I was like, they're going to be a problem.
Yep.
They got a good quarterback now.
Yeah. Yeah. Cam Ward's definitely a guy I'm keeping my eye on. I think he's going to be a very
Mario
talented gentleman.
Cristobal
And
is
I
good.
think I think for sure Mario Cristobal's been struggling a little bit over here in Miami, dude. He's 12
He's
and
trying to
13
build
in
his
his first
program.
couple. For sure. 12 and 13 in his first
I'll
couple
give him
seasons,
credit.
6 and 10 in conference play over the last 2 years. Yeah, we'll definitely give him some credit for what he did this offseason. Again, nobody stockpiled talent and went as hard in the transfer portal as Miami. They got Damian Martinez. at the running back position, Tyler Barron at defensive end, Cam Ward that we just talked about. You could argue, bro, tell me if I'm wrong, Alan, is this the most talented roster in the ACC? Is it
Miami?
up there with some of the most stacked rosters on paper because of what they've done in the transfer portal?
Yeah, I could get behind that because realistically, you could make a case for 3 teams in the ACC that are pretty loaded. Obviously, the Knowles, and then you have Clemson, and then Miami. They're all looking really good. I
Yeah.
mean, I think those are your front runners of the ACC next season.
Yeah.
Um,
Florida
my
State and
humble
Miami are
opinion.
the two teams that I'm keeping my eye on.
Yeah.
Did you say there was a third one just now?
Clemson.
Yeah.
Yeah, Clemson's a
Yeah.
threat, but
Right.
I don't see them winning the ACC, but they're definitely a threat.
Right. Yeah, Miami's underrated for me. Number 20, Texas A&M.
I think they're a little overrated. The only reason I say that is because they got a new head coach. Not that dude's bad. We saw what he did with Duke and what he was able to do with Riley Leonard and developing him. And he
Yeah.
moves on to the SEC. So we're going to see how that translates for them. And,
Yeah.
they're coming off of the travesty of what, Jimbo Fisher had.
Yeah.
And we're not going to place blame or anything like that here. But, Texas A&M, they're kind of in
That's what we do,
shambles.
bro. We hold people accountable on this show.
They're a
There's
little in
there's blame to
shambles
be
right
placed.
now. You know, they gotta show me. They gotta show me.
Mhm.
Win a few key games in the SEC. Beat somebody like an Auburn or something like that that's supposed to be really good this year or halfway decent. Beat a
Yeah.
solid team for me
Yeah.
and get an 8 or 9 win season under your belt. Then I'll buy into.
Yeah. I would say Texas A&M's properly rated. Again, this just or maybe even overrated too. This isn't a team that really excites me coming in, man. I mean, they got Connor Weigman at quarterback. Obviously, they got to replace Ruben Owens, who went out with that season-ending lower body injury
They never
last
got
year.
rid
Of
of Haynes
course,
King.
right, right. We see we're going to talk about Georgia Tech and FSU here soon. Haynes King, I think, is going to be something to watch this season. And what a better way to task him than with DJU. But yeah, I think that the Aggies are properly rated, man. I don't expect them to make a whole lot of noise. Yeah, they do have some talent, but again, I just don't see them in that 12 or 13 teams this year that really is going to make some things happen. Number 21, Arizona.
I say they're fair because we see Arizona. They hung in there last year in all of their games. They were they were doing pretty decent for themselves. Obviously, they're not like a championship caliber team or anything like that in my mind. But
Right.
I still say 21's fair ranking because they're not going to let you come in there and stomp them.
Right. Yeah, I would say they're properly rated. Number 22, Kansas.
I do say that's a well, I think it's a fair rating for sure. I mean, because you got Jalen Daniels, he's going to be impressive. So
Hmm.
I'm ready to see that. And
Yeah.
Kansas was fairly good last year and the year before that. So they went on a winning streak, as a matter of fact, I think last year. So
Hmm.
and I think they got their head coach back, their coordinators back. So I think they can make a run, but I don't think they get past any big opponents or anything like that.
Right. Yeah, I think Kansas is properly rated. It will be a team to keep an eye on with Jalen Daniels to see what he does, but he does have some things to prove. We've seen him play well in spots, but
Yeah.
definitely going to be keeping my eye on him. Number 23, USC.
You could make a case that they're underrated, in my opinion,
Totally agree with you.
because of their strength of schedule now. They're in the Big Ten, obviously now, but it's USC, it's Lincoln Riley, the Heisman Whisperer. I mean, the guys had several of them so far, and runner-ups, as a matter of fact. So USC is going to be better than they were last year, I think. Um,
Hmm.
so I'd say they're underrated.
Yeah. I would say they're underrated as well. It feels insane to say that a Lincoln Riley led team and or offense, which obviously it's a combination of both, is going to be the 23rd best team in the country. Of course, they're missing Caleb Williams, but when you see Miller Moss and what he was able to do in the
Yeah,
Holiday Bowl, 6 touchdowns under
yeah.
Lincoln Riley. I mean, tell me the
Exactly.
last time Lincoln Riley didn't have a prolific college football offense despite who's at quarterback.
I can't. In the
Kyler
last
Murray,
in the
Baker
last
Mayfield,
6 seasons, I
Caleb
cannot.
Williams. Exactly. Exactly, and
Yeah.
that's what he's
Since
here to do.
2017 with Baker, I cannot name a bad season that he's had, so except for
Exactly, and
last, it
that
was a little mediocre, but, I
yeah,
mean,
and that's
they were
what
struggling.
right, that's what Lincoln Riley's come to do, and I don't think it's gonna be any different with Miller Moss, so I would say that USC is, wildly underrated, one of the most underrated teams here. NC State at number 24.
That's a fair ranking because they're actually kind of a dark horse in the ACC if you look at it. They're expected to be high in the rankings at the end of the season in the
Yeah,
conference play. They're expected to be like 2 or 3 in conference play. So and like I always say, you can't turn your back on the Wolfpack, man.
right.
They're that trap team in the ACC, in my opinion. I mean,
Yeah,
I've watched with my own eyes us get smacked by them. So
uh-huh,
at Doak Campbell, it's a hard place to play on a Saturday night. You know,
mhm,
so I think that's a fair ranking for NC State, and who knows, they might even shoot up even further.
yeah. They're 17-9 over the last couple of years. They were 85 in the country last year and just 25 points per game, which you feel like 25 points per game is good. But when you're in college and you see the number one offense in the country putting up more than, 20 points or 20 points more than you on average per game,
Right.
speaking of what LSU was last year, you see in perspective that that's not that, you know, it's not that great in the scheme of college football. Yes, they do have Grayson McCall at quarterback, but I think this is a properly rated team. I don't expect to see,
Absolutely.
NC State taking up too many headlines. And yeah, they're going to be in some good games like every college football team is, like you said, don't turn your back on the pack. But it's not going to be a team that I think is in the top 12 this year. Last but not least, Iowa. I say they're properly rated.
Oh yeah, that is the most properly rated team on this list, I think, because they do just well enough on defense, but they need offensive help
Yeah.
bad. I mean, they're putting out
Yeah.
some great DBs right now, but
Hmm.
let's see y'all get a quarterback. Let's see y'all get a tight end. Let's see y'all get a running back. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Really start putting points on the boards, contending with these Ohio States, these Michigans, Penn States.
Yep.
I want to see it. I really do.